Hey, what's up? Welcome to DGen Ed. That's degenerative education, meaning none of this is financial advice. Just me having fun looking at charts, like the chart behind me, which is of Rivian Automotive, ticker symbol RIVN. And so in this video, I wanted to go over the current chart that I have up here, the drawings that I have, give you a breakdown of my thought process with that, and then give you a little bit of an update where I could see this going based on some options data, insider activity, and yeah, just redrawn what I have up here. But generally, before I get into the data, dive into the chart, I think that price could be coming down to around $12 a share before finding a bottom. Maybe that corresponds with earnings, which looks like it's scheduled for November 4th. So I would be bracing for a little bit more downside, but of course I could be wrong. As you can see, a lot of the doodles that I have up here are not exactly right, but hopefully they do give kind of an idea of where this could be going. And so yeah, we'll jump into this in a minute, but before doing that, I did just want to real quick go over some data here from Unusual Whales, really just kind of saying that nothing's standing out too much to me. And so I should also note that I am recording this during market hours on Friday, October 10th, before kind of the odd long weekend. I believe Monday is a holiday where banks will be closed, but the market will be open on Monday. And so maybe that, is an indication of things being a little bit odd today, whether it's Rivian or other stocks. But anyways, generally what I see here is not that much. Net call premium for the day down $291,000. Net put premium, that's in red. I should note net call premium's in green, stock price in yellow. Net put premium is effectively flat, up around $40,000. And so, again, not too much data here just because the day is young. But if we do look back at the past 30 days, we can see stock price in yellow going up here, kind of topping out and then rolling over. And as it's rolled over, we did see some selling of calls here. Net call premium came down by about $1.66 million. We also saw up here maybe some profit taking, net call premium, or actually not profit taking. This would be buying of calls going along. Net call premium increasing by about 3 million and then increasing over here by about 1.8 million. And so that does suggest people are going long into this move, and maybe they're taking profits over here as it's starting to roll over. But as prices come down, we don't see any really stand out, red or green. So red net call premium, net put premium, green net call premium. And so if these are going up, it suggests that those are being bought. If it's coming down, it suggests that they're being sold. So again, there's nothing that really stands out to me here, at least not recently. So that makes me think that we're not really going to be seeing that much volatility. And with that being said, it could just be kind of a slow bleed up to earnings. And then maybe leading up to earnings, a week from now, a couple weeks from now, we start to see some more options data that could be a signal whether this is going to be collapsing around earnings or, taken off. And so I think that will be the signal that we want to look for. Again, not really seeing it too much here. But then if I do look at insider transactions, this is a tab I recently discovered up here in Unusual Whales. What we can see, it probably stands out to you, there has been some recent selling, and this has been selling from not only the chief financial officer or the CFO, but also the chief executive officer or the CEO. And these sales began taking place on August 19th, then again, and that was by the CFO. And then in September, we saw a couple sales, September 12th and 18th from the CEO. And then, again, more recently, October 2nd, so about a week ago. So not last Friday, but not yesterday as in Thursday, but the Thursday before. Sorry, trying to figure out how to phrase that. And so we do see, 4 sales, the amount of shares here, value. Let's see, the one from the CFO, less than $90,000, so that doesn't really stand out too much. These other ones, this totals about $750,000, so that's a pretty good amount. But as far as a CEO goes, how they're compensated, whatnot, I don't necessarily see these as being that huge of sales, but at the same time, they are sales, so something to note. And then looking over at the max pain, so the Greeks here in unusual whales, we can see that with price currently right around 13 bucks. That max pain for today, the 10th, is 13.50, a little bit higher than where we're at. And then for the following, month or so, we do have max pain right around current price. So again, that doesn't necessarily suggest a lot of volatility, whether to the upside or the downside. And so now I'm going to dive back into the chart, and I should have mentioned this at the beginning, but the reason why I wanted to cover Rivian is because yesterday on the 9th, my alert went off for Rivian trading below $13. So if we look here, the low for Thursday, October 9th, that was $12.86. So my alert went off, and I did talk about it yesterday in the market hours stream. I'll try to include a link to that at the end of this video, as well as in the description, so you can check it out. Yeah, it's always good to be tuning into those streams, whether they're market hours or after hours updates. Today, I will be doing another update during market hours around 1:30 Eastern. So make sure you tune into that if you do have some follow-up questions on Rivian. But yeah, looking at the chart here, I mean, the thing that stands out to me, I've got all this stuff going on, and I guess I should call out a couple things, maybe some mistakes by myself before talking about this trend line here, which I think is important. But some of those things is over here, I did kind of suggest this pattern happening, maybe an inverse head and shoulders. I'm not exactly sure when I doodled that, so again, good to be tuning into the streams, the videos to see when I do actually draw these. I try not to delete stuff unless I am recording a video. But that did seem to play out. We did go up here. Since that has played out more or less, I'm just going to delete that so we don't have the clutter. But then following that, the chart kind of diverged from where I was thinking this could be going. Thinking that it could be breaking above this trend line here, maybe pulling back to retest, fake out, break down before continuing higher, or, and that's the green scenario, I should say, the good scenario, or the red scenario, or the bad one, getting rejected around here. So this is probably actually when I drew those lines on September 23rd. So any videos recorded around then, I would check them out to see my thought process there. But I was suggesting that this could be breaking down to around the 50-day simple moving average. If I do remove my drawings, we can see that a little bit clearer. That is at $13.48. So bringing the drawings back up here, we did pull back to that, but we have not gotten a bounce from that or a fake out breakdown, kind of corresponding with this yellow trend line that I have here, showing that we're putting in higher lows. And I should also note we are still putting in higher lows, as the low over here on September 12th, so that was a Friday, the low was $12.57. So far over here, the low was $12.86 yesterday on the 9th, as I had mentioned. So that's still, higher lows, not necessarily looking that bad there, but we have broken below the 50 SMA, so that doesn't look so good. So rather than going up to the top here, as I suggested, and we did get rejected from this trend line, and then we did pull back. So it's kind of like, this red scenario, but we faked out a little bit to the upside, and then now we're breaking down a little bit lower to the downside. And again, I do suspect that this will be coming down to around 12 bucks. But to remove the clutter, I am going to just remove those doodles. And so we have those off the chart. A couple other things that I do have up here, we do see lower highs formed in the stock price, which also corresponded with lower highs in the RSI. So there's no bearish divergence there. But then if we do look, we did put in a higher high over here, and that corresponded with RSI going to, be effectively flat. It was a little bit lower here, but relative to how much higher the price went up here. So that was, let's see, about a 7% move to the upside. It's effectively flat in the RSI, so that doesn't necessarily look that good. That's showing effectively weak bearish divergence. Stronger bearish divergence would be higher highs in the stock price and then notably lower. And actually, yeah, I mean, this is lower. It's just not much lower. That's showing weak, it's showing weak bearish divergence. If this was lower RSI, that would be suggesting that there's not strength behind this move, and that it's likely to be rolling over. RSI is the relative strength index. This move was not backed by that support. And also, I did have this, kind of like lower highs in with the volume here. And what we did end up seeing, that looked like at this point in time, that looked like it could be breaking to the upside. Lower highs here, lower highs here, lower highs here, and then we break. So there's no divergence. There is confluence, or, they're moving in concert. But then now, if I do redo those adjustments, we can see that there has been a little bit of divergence, and then we have pulled back there. Very subtle, tough to see, but again, that downtrend was, a little bit of a signal of caution. And whenever, something moves, if something changes a little bit, if everything is not aligned for a continuation, maybe there's something a little shaky, like bumping into a trend line, I think it's always a good idea to trim a little bit, take a little bit off the table. So if it does pull back, then there's more capital on the side to deploy, take advantage of the dips. But anyways, I did want to mention that with this volume here, we can kind of extend this. We have seen some volume break out of this a little bit, but with those breakouts from this downtrend, what do we see? We actually saw price coming down, not price going up. So this generally makes me think that there is really, a loss of momentum with Rivian, and I do think that it is going to be going lower. And again, I will talk about these trend lines, but I do just want to adjust this Fibonacci retracement because this was taken from the high over here. So that was the high from September 3rd on the Wednesday, high of 1503. It's locked into place, so that should be exactly at 1503 here. But I am just going to adjust it to be the high here from September 26th. That was at a price of, let's see, 1617. So I'm just going to adjust that here. And so we can see that reflected in those levels. And then because we have moved forward from them, I am going to adjust the point here to be 310. So it goes a little bit into the future. And so we can kind of use those as reference points for where the stock price could be going. And so one of the reasons that I was thinking about 13 as being a level to kind of signal, maybe I want to do a video on it, maybe I want to revisit the chart. And I should also note, I don't have a position in Rivian. I don't plan on getting a position in Rivian, but if the data, specifically if the data over here in unusual whales is really starting to scream out, hey, there's buyers, or hey, there's sellers, maybe it's a good time to go long or go short, then maybe I'd be interested in getting into a position. But right now, there's just not enough data to really suggest that a bottom's in, or that it's going to be moving to the upside or dramatically to the downside. And so I suspect it will be fading lower. But again, 13, why did I have that level? Really just being approximate, kind of around that 50-day SMA, around 1348. If I would, want to be paying attention to it, I'd want there to be like a real clear signal, like a bottoming signal, like over here, wicked below that 50 SMA, but then closed above. That could be suggesting, hey, buyers stepped in, the bottom's in, and there's going to be a move to the upside. And that's what we've seen. We just haven't really seen that yet. And with us trading below the 50 SMA, it's not a quick wick below and a bounce up. It's, trading, closing multiple days below it. So I think this could be going lower. So that's why I had it at 13 to get that discounted signal, but then to be able to reevaluate. Actually, this doesn't look like a discount. I think it's going lower. And so with that being said, I should probably adjust this trend line since we have broken below it, although still putting in, higher lows. And so I might just do that over here. Again, just being approximate, we did get, a wick below over here, didn't get a wick down to it over here. But that is something to be paying attention to. But ultimately, I think this is going lower. I said around 12. We do have the 786 here at $12.55, but maybe we get a big wick below it, like over here, big wick below that moving average. Maybe we get a big wick below the 786, maybe coming down to or around 12. And I would view that as a discounted buying opportunity. especially if the options data, the data from unusual whales is starting to signal that the bottom's in. But if it's not, maybe it could continue to bleed. And so seeing this, yeah, I mean, I think this is coming lower. It's also, I didn't mention this, I'm not really sure why, but the 618, that's at 1333, and that's just above, $13, and we're trading below that. We've had actually three closes below that level beginning on Tuesday, October 7th, when we closed at 1326. Multiple closes below, maybe with Thursday's with Thursday's close, Thursday's candle in that shape. It looks like, maybe buyers were stepping in with that wick down and that little bit of a doji. It looks like we opened at 1308 and then closed at 1309. So effectively at the same price, but a little bit green there. So maybe that's a bottom, but I just feel like this is going to continue to fade lower. And since this is a Friday, we haven't put in the close for the candle today. But we can consider that, I think that closing above 1333, above that 618 for the week, that would be significant. So check back after the close to see if price did close above 1333, and especially above that 50-day simple moving average at 1348 currently. But that will be changing as, we get the new data. As the market's still open. So do look for that. But again, I do think this could be going lower. And that is really going to be based on this trend line, which is probably not locked into place. So it's, kind of approximate. But that's just going back to the lows, again, being approximate. The lows here from April 16th of 2024. And since I am saying, this is approximate, this is a, let's see, is that a ray or a trend line? That's a trend line. I might actually just do this up here for you guys, a ray. So we do have some pivot points there so you can see where I'm looking at with this, and we could actually do it a couple different ways. So I'll go over that. But generally what you could see is it did act as support over here in November of 2024. And I should note, April 2024 over here. It did act as support with a little bit of a fake out break below. This was, it looks like in March and April of 2025. Testing it again over here, August. And now, we could be pulling back to it. So again, that's been a pretty notable level, a pretty notable trend line. So good to keep that in mind. And also I do have this in the linear time frame or the linear scale. Maybe I'll switch over to the log scale to see. Yeah, I mean, that looks like, it's a really, really nice trend line. And what I might do, I think that the best way to probably draw this trend line is going to be based on some of the lows and to do it on the log scale, just because I feel like we respect that level a little bit more over here. Did get a little bit of a fake out breakdown here, but yeah, I'm going to base this on the log scale. And so we can look at that. And again, this is something Colin Gladman has said that, if somebody's looking at something on the macro and they're not using the log scale over here, don't listen to them. They don't know what they're talking about. For me, I'm still learning a lot of this stuff. I try to be transparent about that. But, considering that we're taking a step back in time more than a year, I think flipping it over to the log scale does make a lot of sense. So anyways, the low here from April 16th was at a price of 826. I'm nearly lined up there. I'll actually probably just adjust that. And then over here, I'm going to go from the low of November 6th of 2024, and that was at a price of 950. Let's lock that in place, and then I will adjust these. 951, I need to lower that by a penny. 825, need to raise that by a penny. And so now we have that, and we can see acted as support over here, acted as support over here, and even in this short time frame on November 15th, it did go back to that level, found it as support. So I think that's pretty interesting. Over here, then again in April of 2025, not really coming down to it in March, so nearly getting there. I find that to be pretty interesting. But here we did pierce it on April 4th earlier this year. And so again, both of these times right around that level. And actually, I think that this is a good, example of maybe we don't get exactly to that level. So being stubborn on it, maybe that's not a good idea, but getting approximately to that level, getting close to it, not buying the dip here that would have, been followed by about a 27% move to the upside. but then also a drawdown to basically those same levels again, opportunity to add more at that trend line before going up. Let's see here, about 60% to the upside. So very interesting there. And then again, here, we didn't test that level. We didn't get to that trend line, just like over here. Maybe we're going to pull back and retest it. And that would suggest the cursor here is right around $12, 12.08. I initially had it at 12.06. Here it's at 12.02. And so you can kind of see that time frame. Maybe what we do is break below the trend line that I have doodled there, bounce from the 786, but then get rejected from that trend line that I have, and then pull down to test over here, come into around 1206 before earnings, and then maybe we consolidate here. And leading up to earnings, that could be a bear flag, suggesting that price is going to roll over. That's where options data would be really useful to look at that, to consider. Are people betting millions of dollars, let's say, on this breaking down after earnings or bouncing and going up here? So I think, how I have that drawn, I think that's what's going to potentially be happening before earnings. And then we revisit this and, see what the options data is. And then maybe it would be a good time to go long on some shares, maybe buy some calls, or maybe to not buy the dip, wait to see what happens after, or maybe to buy some puts. I have no idea. So what I am going to do is I am going to set an alert for 1243, that's the 786 here, just to keep it on my radar, because then maybe I want to do a follow-up video. If that does happen, maybe I'm convinced that it's probably going to go lower. I adjust that alert to 12. Or if the bottom I think is in, then, maybe I'll do a follow-up video. But yeah, this is kind of the outline that I see leading up to earnings. And then I suspect around there we will see some options data giving us some signal, whether this is going to the upside or the downside. But right now, I think it's just probably going to be fading lower. Time is, going to bore us out of this. And but I think it could be leading to some nice opportunities. But anyways, as always, those are just my thoughts. If you found them helpful, make sure you like the video, share your thoughts in the comments down below, and make sure you subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you at 1:30 for market hours update. Take care, you guys. Bye.